Hey guys, I'm going to wait a few minutes and let some people join in and then I'll get started. I do not have anybody helping me tonight. In fact, I told my husband to stay away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hopefully be able to pull the live up. Oh, I am. Great. I'm going to pull the live up on my iPad so that I can see your comments. I see Debbie's on. Debbie, thank you for joining. You did better than me. I didn't join you because I was headed to the beach. I'm going to bring you on camera. Okay. Okay, well, I am going to get started and because we're recording this and it will be available for whoever to watch whenever within our floats. So I'm Jennifer Krieger and I am bringing you the basics of transfers. This is just something that I picked up along the way and I really enjoy. I enjoy doing transfers more than anything else. In fact, I would love to pair with somebody who is willing to do the tambourines and the finishes on the tambourines, and I will just do transfers all day long. So anyway, I love transfers. I know some people are really kind of, I don't know, they're nervous about transfers or they're overwhelmed by transfers or something. Look at it like this. It's coloring. You are literally just coloring. You're coloring with paint. My light is weird, but I use the Slick Tulips paint, and they're on your in materials list. So it's just paint and it's glitter. That's it. That's all there is to it. So what I want to do is first talk about how we're going to do these transfers. We're going to do a couple of the steps in the transfers, and then I'll talk about some other things if you all have time. Yes, Debbie, the beach is always a priority. Absolutely. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Megan. Okay, so this is what we're going to start with. We're going to start with an image. Okay, sorry, this is like my special fancy light, and I'm going to turn it off for a sec. But you're going to see how it can be really, really helpful. So you're going to select an image. What I do is I go to Google Images. I select clip art as the type of image, and I just type something in. So here, we're the sunflowers, where sunflower is our flower this year. So I selected, I just went on to Google, and I selected sunflowers, and then I selected clip art, and then I use my work computer, and I have Word, so I just copied and pasted the image into Word, and then I sized it so that it would fit the tambourine. Now, I hope I sized it correctly, but the great thing about tambourines is we can just put a tambourine on top and you can see whether you've sized your image correctly or not. Okay, so you have this image of the sunflower available to you on our Facebook page. You also have this Orpheus image, which you can see I did a really lousy cut and paste job, but it's got Orpheus and then it's got a lyre or lyre, and this can be a tambourine all by itself. And then I picked a third tambourine for you. I'm sorry, sunflower for you that I thought would be a good one to use. So let me get started, and then I'll talk about why I think certain images are better than others if you're just getting started. So let me get my trusty Ziploc bag and Scotch tape. Sorry about that, guys. So I use Ziploc bags. People use different things. You just need something that is plastic. Some people like to use paper savers. Some people like to use the freezer bags. I just go to Sam's and get a variety of sizes and go to town. I mean, these are not freezer size bags or thickness bags, and I think they work just fine. Gallon is kind of my go-to, and given the size of the image that we're going to use, gallon is probably good. So what you'll do is you'll open up your bag or whatever plastic you're going to use. You've got your image, and let me actually start. Yeah, I'll do this one. So you've got your image. You're going to just slide your image in the bag. Now here's something that might seem obvious, but I would feel badly if somebody did their transfer on the wrong side and then had problems later. So on your Ziploc bag, you've got the decal. Choose the other side. You want a slick surface. Your paint's gonna go on this Ziploc thing unevenly. Okay, so I am just slipping my image into the bag, like so. Then you don't want your image to move around unless you're doing it all in one fell swoop, and even then you don't want your image to move around. So take your Scotch tape, and let me start doing this. Okay, so hopefully okay, I think that'll work. Okay, so I am just taking my Scotch tape, and I am going to Scotch tape the image into my Ziploc bag. And I'm going to do it on both sides so that it does not move on me. If it moves, you're going to have a hard time completing your transfer because it's going to be all over the place. Okay, so everybody can see. We are ready to go. So my image is in my bag. I'll move my Scotch tape out of the way. And now I'm ready to begin glittering, as I call it. So I'm going to use this light. It's called an art light, and I have old eyes. So can you see already the difference between that image with and without the art light? The art light is just, I think, amazing, and it's just really, really bright. Okay. So we'll talk about the tools of the trade as we go along, but I wanted to get started. One of the first things is I'm sorry, I'm watching, and it's on delay on my iPad. So just a piece of paper towel to wipe your paint. I've got my Tulip Slick paint. And it's in your supplies. It doesn't really matter what color with my outline, because I'm going to be using black. No, I'm going to use brown. I'm going to use brown glitter for my outline. The first thing you're going to do is shake your paint, and then you're going to beat your paint a little bit into the palm of your hand or your table or whatever you're working on. You want to do that because you don't want air bubbles. So you shake to blend, and then you tap to get the air bubbles out, because what you don't want to be doing is working on a nice line and then get an air bubble and now you have a splat. If that happens, you take your Q-tip and you're going to grab as much of that paint as you can, or even just take get all of it off and then start all over again. So the Q-tip is really helpful for removing paint. Okay, but let's try not to have that happen because you will be very frustrated. So what I do is, after I shake and I tap, then I'm going to wipe off the tip of my paint, and I'm going to begin. Now, the way that I approach transfers, people might do this different ways, but I've been doing transfers for like 5 years, and this is the way that I do it, and it always works for me because, again, we're coloring. I like to think of this as coloring. So I always outline unless I am outlining in white. And honestly, I just don't pick images that need a white outline, because as Debbie shared with you, the lighter colors, she always does the lighter colors last. When I do transfers, I don't necessarily do the lighter colors last. I just do white last. And the reason is, these beautiful flecks of glitter can end up in the grooves in between the white glitter. And it is very, very difficult to keep white crystal clear white. So that's why I always do white last, but I outline first. So I look at this and I think, okay, I'm just going to swoop and I'm going to swoop. I'm going to swoop. I'm going to swoop. That's all I'm doing. I'm just going to move you're going to see, I'm going to move the transfer around and I'm just going to like take one line at a time. I will say that the way that I approach points is I tend to start at the bottom. Well, I'll just do it. I start at the bottom and then I lift and I stop releasing the paint as I lift. So that's how I get a nice point, is I just start at the bottom and I lift. Can you guys see that? Yes, I think you can. Okay, so you can go about this whatever way you want. You can do the big flowers first. You can do the petals behind second. That's actually what I did. I've done about 4 of these because I want to show you some different glitters. So I'll just do that. So you want to take your time, but I hope you can see how the paint is being applied by using purple paint on the black. I hope that you can see that. Okay, so you can see I'm sort of moving my image around. You will find your groove. You can see I sort of like the tip to be like this. I don't like it to be like this. It's just what I've developed over time, and that's what I'm comfortable with. Okay. I was going to show you my trash glitter, which I call, Debbie calls it trash glitter. I call it my, oh, I forget what I call it. Something fancier than that. Kind of like Target and Target. So I'm just doing my lines. I'm taking my time. The bottom line with making transfers is this. Your paint needs to be as perfect as you can get it. And I'm not saying perfect to intimidate you. I'm saying it because where there is something wet like paint or glue, that's what your glitter is going to adhere to. So if your paint on your image is, you know, a mess, that's what you're going to end up glittering. So the more precise you are with your paint application, the better or the cleaner your image is going to be. So while I'm doing this, let me talk about this image and why I picked it. I picked it, of course, because the sunflower is our flower of the year. But I also picked it because you can see these lines are kind of medium lines. I'm able to cover the entire line just with one swipe of my paint. I don't have to go fill anything in. I don't have to worry about really thin lines. And they all, you can see, it's just you get into this little rhythm and you're just applying your paint. So that's what I look for when I am looking for my transfer images. And I would recommend, if you've not done this before, go ahead and start with the sunflower. And you're watching me do it. You can see it's really just running the paint along. Now you might say, okay, so how do I get the thickness the way I want it to be? So it's a matter of how hard you're squeezing the bottle and how rapidly you're moving the tip. I like to think of the tip as sort of I'm dragging the tip across. So the harder you squeeze, the more paint's going to come out. The quicker you move, the less paint is applied. So the opposite would be true. I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I'm going to fill in the circle, but I'm going to do it really, really thin. So I don't know if you can see, but I've got a little bit of paint on my tip. That's where this paper towel comes in. You want to clean your tip pretty frequently because you don't want that extra paint to end up, you know, ruining your nice, neat paint job. So I'm going to show you how thin I can get my lines. And I've played with this for a while. So I'm going to press on my bottle not very hard. I'm not going to move it faster because I don't have the steadiest of hands. So, but I'm not going to press very hard at all. And you can see how thin, well, it's not coming out very thin. Probably because I'm a little nervous because I've not really done stuff like this before. It's certainly not on a video, but that line is a little bit thinner. Now I am going to show you a tool that a lot of people use. I don't use it much because I find I have to squeeze it so hard that I can't really get my line as thin as I would like it to be on some of the fine work. The bottle looks like this, and we were having we were laughing about it earlier, but it's called a needle nose tip. And you can buy these on Amazon, or you can run down to NOLA Craft Culture, which is in Mid-City, and you can buy them for $1. That's where I got this. But you can see the tip is, if you can see the difference between these two tips and how much thinner they are. The other nice thing about this is you can fill it with any paint you want. So you can have all kinds of different colors. But you definitely want to put the cap back on because you do not want your paint to dry out. Okay, so again, I'm going to wipe my tip on my paint, and I'm going to go ahead and seal it up because I do not want my paint to dry out. Now, you might look at this and go, really, Jennifer, are you that good of a, transfer person? Because I'm seeing blobs on this transfer. You can see there's a blob there, there's a blob there. There are various blobs. Now I can address this one of two ways. I can clean up the blobs, which I'm going to show you how to do. Or when I come back and I do the second color, if my blob's on the inside and my color is not sheer or semi-sheer, then I can actually just paint right over it and clean up my lines. And I do that all the time. But I'm going to show you how to clean up a blob. So I have a blob here that I'm not very happy with. So I'm going to take this wooden skewer, buy a big pack of these. I use these all the time. These just up to my game a lot. And I'm just going to kind of lift up some of that paint and wipe it on my little paper towel. You see that paper towel is coming in handy. So I'm just going to lift a little bit up and clean off my tip and get the next blob that I don't like. So here I went a little bit over, so I want to clean that up. Remember, where there is paint, your glitter is going to stick. So the more meticulous you are at this stage, the better your transfer is going to be. Okay, this was a little bit thick, so I'm going to pull that up. You could use a Q-tip. Again, if it had gone splat, I would have definitely used the Q-tip, but I'm not going to be able to get the precision that I would like, which is with this. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put my glitter on. I use all kinds of different glitters. We're going to talk a little bit more about glitter tonight. Debbie did a great job sharing different glitters with you last week. But when it comes to transfers, you really want to get picky about your type of glitter. And by type, I don't necessarily mean the brand. I mean the thickness of it. So you can hopefully see here that this is what's called an ultra fine. This is the tiniest little speck of glitter that they make. And the reason that that is important is because if you don't use an ultra fine, then all of that hard work that you just labored over with your paint is for naught, because the glitter is going to expand over the lines and you're just not going to get a nice clean line. So always use that ultra fine glitter when you're doing your transfers, unless you want a different look. And I'm going to show you some of those different looks. So at this point, I'm a parchment paper person. That's how I protect them. I glitter in my kitchen. So this is my parchment paper, just to kind of keep my surface clean. And then I just take a piece of paper and I just kind of tap my transfer. It's a little bit hard with this thing. So I just kind of tap my transfer. Oh, don't make the mistake that I have made from time to time, which is you're tapping your transfer, you hit your paint and you smear it. So some glitter is just more staticky than others. You can see that all of that glitter has just stayed on my transfer, and that's okay. So I'm going to let that dry. Debbie said she lets all of her things dry 12 to 24 hours. I do that as well, unless I'm doing a nice thin line and I'm really aggressive. And sometimes I can actually, you know, it dries in like 8 hours. Depends on the humidity and all of that. Humidity, how hot or cold it is, those kind of questions. Okay, so that is step 1 and 2. I'm going to take my my glitter, and it was my first coat. So as Debbie mentioned, if it's your first coat of glitter, it should be clean, and you should be able to just put that glitter back in the glitter container, and you're good to go. If you have extra glitter lying around, like that got on this piece of paper, you can wipe it off. I've seen some people just simply turn their page over and they're good to go. But keeping your glitter clean is going to be important. You've made an investment in the glitter, and you don't want it to end up with a bunch of different colors. I have not taken Debbie's idea up yet about using the roller to clean my hands, and partially because I have a sink in my kitchen that I just clean my hands with. So that's step 1. Let me go here and see if anybody's got any questions. Especial, that's it. So my trash glitter is especial. Some of the people who taught me how to glitter, that's what they call it. So this is my especial. It's a mess. And I have used especial as my base for my glitter, and it sometimes can be really pretty. Let's see. Ashley! Oh my gosh. Ashley and I rode together in Nick's, and she moved to Virginia, and I got to visit her a couple of times in Virginia, and that was just great. So I'm super excited to ride with you again, girl. Okay, let's see. Debbie, you're saying you can't see it. What can't you see? Oh, my especial. Kathleen, I outline. It just depends on the image, but whatever I'm outlining, I just outline. So it could be light pink, it could be yellow, it could anything but white. I just won't outline in white. What I tend to do, well, let me show you something. Okay. The trusty eye of the tiger. All right. Oh, the needle nose up. Okay. The eye of the tiger. It might be a little bit tricky to see, but the eye of the tiger is actually outlined in white. So what I'll do is I'll actually do the yellow and the purple, and then I come back at the very end and I'll outline in the white. That's my only rule of thumb. So whatever color your outline is, go for it, unless it's white. Does that answer your question? Okay. Oh, Debbie, you were saying the needle nose tip you couldn't see? Okay, let me find it. I put it down. I don't know where. Oh, here we go. So, why isn't it showing up? Can you see it? I don't know. Oh, my needle nose is like falling into the thing. It's weird. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to show you, so like those cooking shows, you know, the magic of time, the magic of TV is really just you've done it, right? So I just outlined that one sunflower. Now I'm going to show you the next step to a sunflower. So let's do this. Okay, we're going to pretend we did all of that. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting a really bad glare. Okay. So I did this already because I wanted to have something partially done so I could show you how to fill in your next color. So you can see I've got this leaf and I've already done my glitter outline. And now I want to fill it in. I want to fill this leaf in. So I'm going to do that now. And hopefully my phone won't fall. Okay, I think that's good. Yep, I think that's good. All right. So I am going to use yellow so that you can see it. And I'm going to fill in the outline that I already created for these leaves. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is create an outline that I'm going to fill in. So I'm going to take my, my paint. I'm going to shake it. I'm going to tap it. I'm going to wipe my tip just like I always do. And then I'm going to apply my paint and I'm going to create the outline. But this is the trick with once you start filling in your outline. And that is you're going to try to get the paint as close to the glitter line as you can. You don't want gaps. And this is where I was saying if you've got a little bit of glitter that's popped into your design, you can always paint over that. So I am just going pretty slowly, and I'm going to move, my transfer around like I did before, but I'm going to do my best to paint up against the glitter. Okay. And you're looking and you're probably thinking, well, what am I going to do about those points? Those nice, pretty points. I'm going to show you. I'm basically going to use my magic skewer, and I call it the magic skewer because for the first year or two I did transfers, I didn't know about the skewer. And then Heather Nichols, who is a fabulous glitterer, told me, why don't you use a skewer? And you can clean up lines and you can create clean edges and all of that. And it was just like a game changer. So you can see I just outlined and then I'm filling it in. Same thing over here. I'm going to outline. And I'm just doing a little swoop, swoosh, whatever. I'm just filling it in. Moving it around. This is actually requires more precision probably than doing the outline, simply because you're just trying to get as close to the other line as you can. If you don't get close to the line, what's going to happen is you're going to have gaps in your transfer. And sometimes when you pick up your transfer to put it on your item, it will tear apart, it will lift apart, it will separate. None of the things that you really want to have happen. Okay, so I did that. Now I'm going to take my skewer and I'm going to just kind of slide the paint around a little bit to make those nice points that I want. See how I'm just sort of moving the paint to make that point? This one I've really got a lot of work to do. So I'm just moving the paint in to make the point. I'm going to clean this up a little because it's not a straight line anymore. And I'm going to get this point of this leaf. Did pretty well here. Now the thing that you're going to want to do, and Chrissy, if you're on, you'll remember we talked about this, and you actually use your Cricut. You have a Chrissy Brignick has a Cricut, and she's got like this light thing, and so she puts her transfers on the light thing so she can see any areas that she's missed. But what I'll do is I kind of move it around, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I kind of move it around to see where I did not get paint. And I can see I've got a spot right here, pretty good spot where I did not have paint. So I'm going to add a little bit of paint there. And I'm going to use this almost as a paintbrush, which again, I'm just all about this skewer thing. Okay, so I have covered it and I'm looking around, I'm moving it around, and I don't see any gaps. So I feel pretty good about that. And again, if you don't have paint somewhere, you will not have glitter. So that's why you want to be particular about your paint. So I'm going to wipe my skewer off, and now I'm going to add what is one of my favorite colors of all time, because this is beautiful, bright holographic green. This is from Plush Appeal. It's called Bright Lime. I bought it on a whim, and I now find I use it all the time. Isn't that beautiful? Like, it's just gorgeous. So now I've got my leaf filled in, and I'm gonna make sure that I don't have any glitter on my piece of paper, and I'm gonna just tap this glitter off. You see how most of that glitter came off? Because this glitter just isn't as staticky as that other glitter. So glitters are different. But you can see how I got some nice definition on that leaf. You can see the veins on the leaf, and that green just really pops. So I love that green. So that is basically, I made a real good mess that time. That is basically how you fill in your colors. And you just do them one at a time, let them dry completely, and move on to the next color. You can have multiple transfers going at one time. That's usually what I'll do. I'll do the transfers here. I've got a counter, and I actually stand. I think that's why I don't get as much glitter on me. I really never get glitter on me, except when I do that tapping thing. Sometimes I get it on me. But I know people who it gets all over them. I also only use short sleeves. Okay, so that is... So we selected our image. We slid our image into our plastic bag. We taped it so it wouldn't move around. Then we did our outline, and then we filled in with a color. So those are the steps that we've done. And that is basically all there is to creating a transfer. So now I wanted to share with you just a couple of things about different kinds of glitter. I'm going to show you how to peel the transfer and how to apply it to our tambourine. But I did want to take a minute and talk a little bit more about glitter. So you can see this glitter was the extra fine. All of these glitters that I used down here were the extra fine. That brown that I outlined the flower in is extra fine, and you can see how I got some nice crisp lines out of it. Then you can see this one. I hope you can see it. You can see this flower. The petals are in a completely different glitter, and I don't know if you can see them, but like I've got a piece that's sticking here over my brown, and it's kind of messy. This is a chunkier glitter, but I thought it would be kind of fun as a flower to not have such a neat and tidy petal. And I wanted to show you what it looked like. So you can see how shiny that is. The bigger the glitter flake, the more light it's going to reflect, and that's how you're going to get the shine. So I thought that that was really cool, and I wanted to show that to you. Okay. I also wanted to show you what happens when you use a chunkier glitter as your outline. So hopefully you can see this. I was playing around with a grape, and I just thought that this was like the prettiest color glitter. So I just did my little fine lines, and I dumped this glitter on, and when I wiped it off, or brushed it off, I had messy lines, and I'm like, oh, I don't know that I like that. But you can see I added the pink to the inside to make these grapes over here, and it actually is kind of a cool look, and it makes the grapes, once I fill them in, they're going to look more organic. But I did want to show this to you so that you could see that if you're going to use anything but extra fine, you need to do it deliberately. Okay. I was going to show you a few other techniques. On this one, I guess you can see, you know what, I'm going to tilt it up so that, let's do this. I'm going to tilt it up. Okay. Yes, Jan, it's being taped, and we secured a private YouTube page, and so we're going to put it on that YouTube page, and we'll send out links and all of that. Okay. So you can see the middle. What I want to point out to you here is the middle of the sunflower. I thought, okay, sunflowers have seeds in the middle, so I thought I would try to put some seeds down. So what I did, and we're going to show you this in another session, but I took a larger, let's see, can you see? I took a larger chunk. This is actually a hex chunk. It's 0.04. And I went ahead and painted the inside of my sunflower. I applied my paint. And then what I did is I just took a little pinch of this, and I just, you know, I'm not going to do it here. Well, I'll do it. So I just took a little pinch, and I just let that thicker glitter fall. And you can see here how much bigger the fleck is than the extra fine. Then once I did that, and I just kind of put a little bit on there, and this is where you can't worry about losing glitter. I just, you know, I flipped my paper and I got all the loose off, and then I came back with another color, and I just laid that color on top as if I hadn't done anything with this little fleck, the chunky glitter. And then when it all dried, and I took my glitter brush to it, and I just, you know, got all the loose off, I was left with this effect, which wasn't as dramatic as I hoped, but of these little black seeds, which I thought kind of looked like a sunflower. So that's another little thing you can do to jazz up your transfers. I also wanted to take a minute and talk to you about translucency. Debbie talked about this last week, but I just wanted to kind of underscore a few points with you. Most glitter is going to be translucent, which means you saw earlier I used yellow, slick, and I put brown on top, and you couldn't see yellow. All you saw was brown. That means it's translucent, and we got good coverage. There are also semi-shears, and a semi-shear is exactly that. Well, it is sheer. So you can see what I've done here. Well, you don't know what I've done. I actually took that same sunflower. And I thought, well, how am I going to get these different, how am I going to get these variations in color? Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We're going to show you ombre next week or the week after. And you can do an ombre here. But I thought, well, let me try to get that orange in there. So what I did is I took, and I'm going to turn it upside down so you can see the paint. I took orange paint and I laid that down, and then I took yellow paint and I laid that down. I wouldn't recommend this method, but it was so I could show you how semi-sheer works. Then I took this glitter, which is Recollections. I think I got it at Michael's or something. And I spread this glitter across the entire sunflower. And you can see that all that's really happened is it sort of dulled my colors a little bit, and it gave them some sparkle. That's all that happened. So that is how sheer this is. I got a little bit of the yellow going, but not much. So there, if you've got a semi-sheer, you need to be very deliberate about your paint color, because your paint color, as you can see, is going to become very dominant on your image. So that can work for you or it can work against you. The quickest way to find out whether you have a semi-sheer or a translucent and you don't know is to take your little, you know, paper towel and use a kind of a darker color or brighter color paint, which, by the way, this is another great way for you to try out your different paint techniques. You see how I got a really thin line there. I've got a thicker line here. I've got a really thick line here. So you can play with your paint techniques on a piece of paper or your paper towel before you start. But the way you're going to determine whether something is translucent or not is, well, that was just a bad example, but I'm going to try this orange because maybe this orange would be better. And I'm going to, now I'm going to use the yellow just so you can really see it. And I'm going to put the yellow on here. And you see how it's just, it's not covering up at all. I mean, I basically have orange with a little hit of yellow. So that's how you know you've got a semi-sheer on your hands. Okay. So another way that we could go about, I'm probably going really long, but another way we could go about trying to get that orange color instead of just this yellow is we can mix. I'm going to mix some of this orange and some of this yellow together. And the way that you do that is you just take a shot cup or just a container and you put a little bit in and you put your other color in, and then you take your skewer and you mix them. And if I want that to be even more yellow, I would add more yellow. So you can see, well, you can't really see very well, but you can see it's a little bit lighter than what my original was. And it's certainly a lot more orange than what my yellow was. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow because I think I'm going to be doing a fair amount of sunflowers this year. So why not? And I'm going to, you know, just mix it up with my skewer. You can also just do your lid and shake it. I've seen that done. I've got paint on my fingers. And now I have something that is in between the yellow and the orange. And I think that's actually going to be a great sunflower color. So what I'll do here is I want the yellow to kind of be my dominant. So I'm going to choose my yellow. You guys see this? And I'm just going to come in. I'm just going to do one little leaf so we're not here all night. And again, I'm just going to outline. A little outline. And then I'm going to fill it in. And if you got a big space, I found that if you kind of swirl your paint, it seems to work better. I don't know. And again, I'm going to check and make sure that I've, you know, touched all of my black outline, and I think I have. And then I'm just going to put my brand new mixture of color on top. And clean my paper, tap it off, and look at that color. Isn't that awesome? I think that's a great match. I don't have that sort of shading, which is, you know, hard to accomplish, but I've got, I think, a really good color going now. And you can see the difference between like that and the yellow. It's got that orangey look to it that I think we're going for in our sunflower. So I wanted to show you that. And I think that was what let me look back at my list to make sure. Yeah. One other thing while we're talking about mixing colors that I do Um, for the base of the tambourine, when I'm using a semi-shear, remember semi-shear is the one that really doesn't give you much coverage at all, is I will take some of the mixture of Mod Podge and Aleene's, or if you're just using the Aleene's tacky glue or just Mod Podge, either one. And then I will basically build like a third of Aleene's and a third of Mod Podge. And then I take either my tulip paint or just, you know, dollar acrylic paint, and I put the color, I add the color to my glue. And then I just mix it up. And when I'm painting the glue on my tambourine, now I have this base of actual color. So it saves you the step of priming. So you're getting the priming and the glue all at the same time. And then I just kind of keep these in these little shot glass things, shot cups. And then I just use them over and over again. I know that my yellow is always kind of on the sheer side, so I just keep one of these yellow glue paint things available. Okay, so hopefully that's a helpful hint for you. And last but not least, and I say last but not least, I've been putting this off because this is my least favorite part of doing transfers, is actually transferring the image from your plastic onto, in our case, the tambourine. So, oh, I did want to show you, if you have a really, really chunky glitter like this one that I showed you before, it's really chunky. It does give you a nice effect. So I've got this kite, and I just thought that that would be a way to kind of jazz up the kite, and I'm okay with it being a little sloppy. Now, what I might do is I might come back and outline it with the black so that I clean up my lines. I might do that. So I wanted to show you that. All right. Last but not least, let's transfer these transfers to a tambourine. So I've done one of our sunflowers, and I did my tambourine blue. That's 2 layers of blue, because I thought, well, that kind of looks like a sky and that would be kind of pretty. And so I'm going to test the size by putting my tambourine over top, and I'm okay. It's probably a little bit large. I really probably ought to resize it for you guys so that you can trim. But for now, we'll go ahead and use this. Get rid of that because all I'm doing is getting orange paint all over the place. Okay, so try to get the transfer off just with your fingernail. Depending on the humidity and the temperature will dictate whether you can pull that transfer off just with your fingernail or if you need to take more severe measures. So I usually just take an edge and I sort of peel, I try to peel it off, and we got lucky. Look, it just peeled right off. So I sort of take all the edges and start peeling them off. If you feel them beginning to rip or doing anything remotely like ripping or not coming off like that one, now you're going to have to take different measures. So you can do a couple of things. You can pop it in the freezer for 15 minutes and then pull it out, and it will literally, it gets hard, and the cold causes the glue to release from the plastic, and you know, you're good to go. The problem is sometimes they crack when you do that. So a method that I learned recently, and I'm terrified of X-Acto knives, but that's what I'm using, is to take an X-Acto knife underneath, and this is a brand new one, so I don't know. I might bail and not do this one. But you basically are going to sort of pick at it. Oh, good. You're going to pick at it until it comes up. But you're picking at it because otherwise you don't want to poke a hole in your plastic. I have, like, if worse comes to worse, I have actually just given up on all of this, and I just cut as closely as I could And I just cut the whole thing, plastic and all, and applied it with the plastic. And that was, again, it was like a desperate moment, but I just really needed that transfer to come off, and it just was fighting me. So I'm cleaning off my space, and I am now peeling back my transfer, and I'm going to take these leaves and get those off. Man, this X-Acto knife, like, this is the first time I've really used it, and that's really kind of, oops, I got the, I got a little of the plastic, which I was trying not to do. Okay, so I'm just peeling the whole thing off, and I'm going to lay it flat on my clean surface. And don't let any of the paint stick to itself, because it will become a garbled mess and you're done. You literally, you're going to have to start all over. It's incredibly sticky. Okay, so there is my flower. If you care about where your hole is on your tambourine, then, you know, you want to be careful about your placement. Then what we'll do is take some glue. I usually just use my regular glue that I use for my tambourine paint. So this is my combination of Aleene's Tacky Glue and Mod Podge. And then I take a small paintbrush, something like that. You know, I just buy a pack of these paintbrushes at Michael's, and then you're just going to paint. You're going to paint, you know, your glue onto your transfer. Another thing that can help is to use the end of a paint brush to help hold it down so it doesn't stick to your fingers. You want the glue to be on fairly thickly, but not, you know, dripping. And I more pat it on than paint it on, because otherwise it ends up sticking. It just creates a mess. But you see how just holding it down with this paintbrush kind of helps. Okay. When I did that like intro live, I cheated. I didn't show you this part because this part is kind of, in my book, it's kind of tedious. Okay, so now because we have a tambourine, like, we have the best thing in the whole world, because I don't have to pick it up and put it on the tambourine. I can literally just put the tambourine on top of the transfer. Of course, I want it to be like straight. Okay, so here, you know, I haven't actually done this like for real. So I'm just gonna eyeball it so it's centered or wherever I want it to be. And then I'm gonna press the tambourine down, and I'm gonna pick it up, and there you go. It's on. You can move it around just a little bit. It's gonna dry fairly quickly. I know you're probably like, oh gosh, there's glue all over the place. It dries clear. Is it gonna, you know, is it gonna diminish the sparkle a little bit? Yes, but don't worry about it. Some people might have better methods than me, but that's just what I do. So I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna let it dry, and it will be dry in, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and then I'm good to go, and I can finish it. So that is it. That is the sunflower transfer, and we are done with that. Did want to show you how the Orpheus transfer. Oops, sorry guys. Oh my gosh. I was like, did I just get glue all over the place? And I think I might have. Okay, so let me just show you like the Orpheus transfer and what that looks like. See how beautiful that is? And that'll fill up your whole tambourine, and then you put your 2022 on the bottom and you are good to go. You could Google Mardi Gras alligator. Think that that would be a great one to start with. And I think everybody would love to get a Mardi Gras alligator tambourine. You could do, this was probably this I wouldn't recommend, you know, right off the bat, but I did just want to show you how you can really just take an image and fill up your whole tambourine with it. And then what I'm going to do is put the Orpheus 2022 on the inside, and I'm done. But you can also see here the confetti on the tambourine itself. And we're going to show you that technique, but it's basically like I showed you with the sunflower seeds. And look how fun that is. And that kind of adds a little something to the tambourine. Then we have this one. This is your sneak peek. So you'll come back and learn ombre. So the background, you can see it's sort of a scene. And we've got the green grass and then some landscape and then some sky. And I would say this French poodle is actually a great one to do because it is just like bubble lines. It's really, it looks very fancy, but it's actually very, very straightforward. And that would be a great one to do. Another ombre background would be this little chickadee. She looks pretty pale because I didn't mix her flesh tone very well, but that's another ombre effect, and she pops pretty nicely. So that's it. Let me kind of slide through here and see. Okay, so only Kathleen's question. Any other questions? I know we were in really, really long. I could talk about glitter all day. I could do glitter all day. I want to quit my job and just make transfers all day. So that's it. If you have questions later, if you start doing something and you have a question, put it in the comments on our video, on this video, either in our Facebook page or our YouTube page, and then we'll come back and address it in a couple of, I think in 4 weeks, we're going to do like a question and answer session. So hopefully by then you will have given all of this a try, and you can, you know, you may have questions, but if you want to put them in the comments, we'll come back and do what we can. If we need to show and tell, we'll probably need to hold it for the Q&A, but if otherwise, we'll type our answer and keep moving. So next week, you have a real treat, and I can't wait to learn all this myself. Tanya is going to show us a variety of ways to seal our tambourines. So here, I've spent all this time on my little French painter guy, and I've done the sides by then. And I'm like, I want to cover this up because some kid's going to pick this thing up and they're going to play with it, and I do not want it ruined. So Tanya is going to show us how to seal our tambourines next week, and I'm super excited to learn more about that. So thanks for joining me. Have a good evening.